One king, one promise, and a truth so powerful that the entire world was forced to bow before it. This is not just the story of a king, this is the story of a man who lost everything, but never abandoned the truth. A truthful man, a generous soul, and a real human being. This is the story of Raja Harishchandra. Long ago, in the beautiful kingdom of Ayodhya, there ruled a king named Harishchandra. He was not only a powerful ruler, he was the king of people's hearts. In his kingdom, no one slept hungry. No innocent person suffered injustice. Even the poor were treated with respect. Every morning, the king personally listened to the problems of his people. If someone needed help, he never turned them away. If someone faced injustice, he immediately gave them justice. Across the kingdom, people would say, if truth had a face, it would be Raja Harishchandra. But when someone becomes deeply respected, life prepares its hardest test for them. And one day, that test finally arrived. At a grand gathering, wise men were praising the honesty of King Harishchandra. Among them was a respected teacher named Vishwamitra. He quietly thought to himself, no human can remain truthful in every situation. So he decided to test the king. That very night, King Harishchandra saw a strange dream. In the dream, Vishwamitra stood before him and asked, O king, will you donate your entire kingdom to me? Even in his sleep, the king calmly replied, yes, I am ready to give away everything I own. The next morning, the royal court was filled with ministers and soldiers. Suddenly, Vishwamitra entered the palace. The entire court fell silent. He looked at the king and said, last night, you promised to give your kingdom to me. Everyone believed it was only a dream. But the king lowered his head and replied, yes, I gave my word, and I never break my promises. Without hesitation, he gave away his entire kingdom, his throne, his wealth, everything. But the test was not over yet. Vishwamitra spoke again. A promise is incomplete unless you pay the final price. The king looked shocked and said, but I have nothing left. Then Vishwamitra replied, you must still fulfill your promise before time runs out. And in that single moment, a mighty king became a homeless man. King Harishchandra left the kingdom with his wife Shaivya and his young son Rohitashva. The people cried as they watched their king leave, because they knew they would never find another ruler like him. Shaivya wiped away her tears and softly asked, my king, where will we go now? Harishchandra looked toward the sky and answered, wherever truth leads us. For many days, they traveled through forests and endless roads. There was no palace anymore, no soldiers, no luxury, only pain and uncertainty. Eventually, they reached the city of Kashi, but the required money was still not enough. Time was quickly running out. Then, the king made the most painful decision of his life. To protect his promise, he decided to give away his own wife and child. Shaivya's eyes filled with tears, but she understood. Her husband was fighting to protect the truth. With a trembling voice, she said, if truth survives, then our suffering has meaning. A wealthy man took Shaivya and little Rohitashva away to work in his home. As mother and son disappeared into the distance, the king stood silently watching them leave. His heart was breaking, but he did not stop them. Because for a truly honest man, a promise is greater than personal pain. Even then, the money was still not enough, so the king sold himself as well. A cremation groundkeeper gave him work. The king who once sat upon a golden throne now stood beside funeral fires and ashes. Smoke, fire, and endless cries of grief became his new life. His duty was simple and to collect tax before allowing any cremation. Meanwhile, Shaivya worked endlessly in another person's house. Young Rohitashva also began to suffer greatly, yet none of them complained, because they believed truth was worth every sacrifice. One day, Rohitashva went into the forest to collect flowers. The air was calm, the forest was silent. Suddenly, a deadly snake emerged from the bushes. Within seconds, it bit the child. The little boy collapsed to the ground. Slowly, his breathing stopped. When Shaivya saw her son's lifeless body, her entire world shattered. She held him tightly and cried endlessly. That very night, beneath the dark sky, she carried her dead child alone toward the cremation ground. Her feet were bleeding, her body was weak, but she kept walking. because a mother wanted to give her child one final goodbye. At the entrance of the cremation ground stood King Harishchandra. At first, he could not recognize them in the darkness, but as they came closer, his heart trembled in pain. The dead child was his own son, and the grieving woman was his wife. At that moment, a father's heart shattered inside him. Yet even then, he did not abandon his duty. With a trembling voice, he said, "To perform the cremation, the tax must be paid." Shavya looked at him in disbelief. Wiping away her tears, she whispered, "I have nothing left. I only want to say goodbye to my son." The king closed his eyes and replied, "I cannot break the rules." Perhaps in all of history, there was never a more painful moment than this. A father who refused to break the law, even for his own dead child. Then Shavya slowly removed part of her sari and said, "This is my last possession. Please accept it as the payment." At that moment, everything around them fell silent. Then suddenly, Vishwamitra stepped forward. With deep emotion in his voice, he said, "O King Harishchandra, today you have proven that truth is the greatest power in the world. I was testing you. You lost your kingdom, your wealth, your family, yet you never abandoned the truth." Everyone who witnessed his sacrifice stood there in complete silence. Then Vishwamitra softly said, "For generations to come, people will remember your name." After that, King Harishchandra returned to his kingdom once again, and just as before, he ruled with justice, kindness, and truth. But his story became more than the story of a king. It became the story of a man who lost everything, but never lost his principles. In today's world, where many people lie for small rewards, the story of Raja Harishchandra reminds us that the path of truth may be painful. Truth may demand sacrifice.